Hi everyone, Freddy here, and for today's video I want to go and talk about my theories on Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. First off, you just have to forgive me on the appearance of my room right now. Before you go and say you're a boy so you have a messy room or whatever, I'm in the middle of moving out of my apartment right now, so everything's kind of just in a semi-disarray state. Normally we don't record on this angle, but I am dumb and I packed away my tripod, so right now I am improvising and this camera is on a windowsill. So anyways, on to the theory. From what we learned from the new Nintendo Direct, the new games are going to go and feature two new box art legendaries that highly resemble Solgaleo and Lunala. But instead of them being exactly like the original box art legendaries from Sun and Moon, they also have the new additions that make them kind of look like Necrozma has been attached to them in some way, shape, or form. In short, they basically have new forms. Now, my theory is based off of a combination of things, including the names of these new games. The fact that they're called Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I think it's a very obvious reference to Ultra Space, the Ultra Beast, or Ultra Wormholes, and how that's going to have a much bigger involvement within the lore of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So before we talk about my actual theory, I want to go into first a lot of the information that we already have, so that way I can give you guys an idea on where my theory is coming from. To start, what we know about Solgaleo and Lunala is that in ancient times they were both worshipped as emissaries of the Sun and Moon respectively. Additionally, in regards to Necrozma, we know that it had been resting or sleeping deep underground in presumably 10 Carat Hill since ancient times as well. It might not actually be 10 Carat Hill, I'm just assuming it is just because that's where it's been found. But then again, they also mentioned at the end of the post-game that it was found flying through the sky, so who knows. In the case of Necrozma, the international police have no records of it ever emerging from an Ultra Wormhole. And also, just to further clarify, Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma are not considered Ultra Beasts because they do not get the capture bonus that the Beast Ball provides. And also, just a complete side note, but the areas that you capture Solgaleo and Lunala from, the altars of the Sun and Moon, as well as the area that you get the Cosmog from, being the Lake of Sun or the Lake of Moon. I want to go and point out the fact that the spelling of Sun and Moon, they add an extra N-E in the spelling of the word. At first I just completely ignored it, but the more I thought about it, it looked very odd, and I thought, why is there an extra N-E? What begins with N-E? Necrozma. This has nothing to do with my theory, just an FYI. I just found that out when I was doing some research, and I thought it'd be really interesting to include that in the video, just because it might mean something in the future, but we don't know yet. So I have two theories, one based off of the actual lore, and one based off of possible in-game mechanics on how these new forms will work. So for the lore, my theory is that while they might not be Ultra Beasts separately, Solgaleo/Lunala, when they combine with Necrozma, they are indeed an Ultra Beast. And a long time ago, this Ultra Beast used to roam and possibly even rule Ultra Space. In my theoretical universe, there was one Necrozma and Solgaleo hybrid and one Solgaleo and Lunala hybrid. And what happened in ancient times is something very catastrophic must have happened in Ultra Space. And in response to that, what Solgaleo and Lunala ended up doing was they decided to create an Ultra Wormhole and they fled. And when they arrived on Earth, what happened was they got separated and they ended up in two different parallel dimensions. One where Ultra Sun takes place and one where Ultra Moon takes place. And in both cases, what happens is the hybrid Pokemon flies straight through the sky like a meteorite and crashes into 10 Carat Hill. Again, I'm only using 10 Carat Hill just for a couple reasons. One being that it makes the most sense in terms of what could have been impacted by a meteor within the region. Well, that or the area that Sophocles' trial took place, because that seems to be an observatory, but I just figured that because Melamela Island's 10 Carat Hill has that giant crater in it, that crater was not created by volcanic activity like we all thought, but instead it was created by the impact of when the Solgaleo/Lunala and Necrozma hybrid crashed into the hill. So the impact crashing into the hill was so deep that it caused not only for this hybrid Pokemon to unfuse, but it also caused the Necrozma portion of the two Pokemon to be burrowed deeper into the ground, being completely obscured and hidden. And that's why Necrozma has been resting in there since quote-unquote ancient times. As for the surviving Solgaleo/Lunala, what happened there is that they got separated, became their form that we see in Sun and Moon, and because the ancient residents of Alola, specifically the ones on Melamela Island, must have seen and heard and possibly even felt the meteorite collision, they went to 10 Carat Hill to go and examine what happened. Because Necrozma was buried so deep underground, all they could find is the surviving box art legendary, which in this case would be Solgaleo or Lunala. Side note, depending on the version of the game, I can already envision if we get to actually see the cutscene that the Solgaleo hybrid, when it comes crashing through the sky, it'd be during the daytime, and it would be during the nighttime for the Lunala hybrid. And that's why the ancient residents of Alola assumed that Solgaleo was an emissary of the sun, because not only does it look like the sun, but it came crashing down during the daytime. Whereas with Lunala, I can imagine like a full moon when it comes crashing down, and that's why everyone thinks of it as the emissary of the moon. So then these two Pokemon went on to be worshipped as deities of the sky and like the celestial bodies and whatever, and what might you have it, and that's why they eventually built altars for them. And it was on these very same altars where Solgaleo and Lunala were able to go and channel their energies and create ultra wormholes. Because it was so uninhabited, Solgaleo and Lunala were able to channel their mystical ultra wormhole creating energy best there, which in turn allowed them to create ultra wormholes on Pony Island's altar of the sun/moon, which is further evidence in the original Sun and Moon games where after you beat the Elite Four, ultra wormholes still form on both those locations. And you're probably wondering what exactly happened to the original Solgaleo and Lunala at that point, because they were worshipped, but then as of the present Pokemon Sun and Moon games, we never see them again, right? Well, my speculation is that when they were taken to the altar of the Sun and Moon, the reason why they stayed around on Earth as long as they did was to try to go and find the Necrozma portion of their bodies to recomplete themselves. However, they were not able to do that. So instead, after being taken to Pony Island, specifically the altar of the Sun/Moon, and using the ultra wormholes, they fled Earth because they decided at that point that it was better to just return to Ultra Space. And then upon reuniting in Ultra Space, Solgaleo and Lunala were able to do their weird mating ritual thing, and that's where Cosmogs came about, which is why we were able to have Pokemon like Nevi here today. Nevi, get in the bag! And because Cosmog is the offspring of Solgaleo/Lunala, and because Solgaleo and Lunala are not complete themselves, that's why Cosmog, when it evolves, it becomes the not complete form of Solgaleo or Lunala, as opposed to the Necrozma-infused version. Because the parents were incomplete, so the child would be incomplete as well. And based off of that as well, that's why Cosmog is not considered an Ultra Beast yet. Or is it? I actually have no idea. I've been told like different things from different sources, so at this point I'm just gonna say Cosmog is not an Ultra Beast, because neither are Solgaleo or Lunala. So anyways, onto my gameplay-based theory. My assumption on how you can invoke these new form changes, it's very similar to what we've already seen before in more recent games such as Oras with Primo Reversion or Mega Evolution. What I'm assuming to happen here is that there's going to be a special method that allows Necrozma to become a Z crystal type thing. I'm only saying this because in the trailer you see the player doing some weird flippy thing with the Z crystal, and somehow it creates this like ridiculous cutscene, which I'm assuming transforms Solgaleo and Lunala into their unique new forms. I'm assuming that Necrozma can become a Z crystal type of item that you can equip onto the box art legendary, and in battle you can activate the item similarly to a Mega Evolution or a Primo Reversion, or even a Z move, and that helps create the new legendary Pokemon while in battle only. And the reason why Solgaleo and Lunala are able to stay in this form with Necrozma is because the player's bond does some yada yada bullshit that makes it happen. I don't quite know exactly what the rationale will be, but that would be my assumption as to why they used the Z Crystal. And why they showed off the Z Crystal so heavily in the trailer, why the Z Ring was black, was probably because it had some influence to do with Necrozma. But unlike Mega Evolution and Primo Reversion, I'm pretty sure that these new forms will have a different name, just because Pokemon likes to do that. I mean, seriously, how hard would it have been to just name the Primo Reversion to Mega Kyogre or Mega Groudon rather than introduce a whole new mechanic? But whatever. But I'm pretty sure that these new form changes would be called Ultra Insert Name of Verb-Derived Noun Word here. I'm just gonna leave the second word up to like complete interpretation just because I myself would not know. But yeah, it'd be Ultra Blank. That in turn would make the new forms be called Ultra Lunala and Ultra Solgaleo. Those are just my assumptions and my speculations and my theories on Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and the new legendaries. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys later. Bye!